The engine keeping this thing aloft is not.
That's an old girl.
Yeah, it's not super advanced, and you're hearing a lot of kind of clanging and clunking that isn't super reassuring. But you would guess this thing's done this trip 100 times a day for quite a while, and it's still going strong. So as you guys are sitting up there and lighting up, you're taking it easy and enjoying the scenery. It's actually beautiful up this high, and you guys are starting to gain altitude slowly. Give me just 1 second here. You guys continue puffing away on your fantastic, tasty smokes.
I put my blizzy in the air and I say, "Thank you, Mr. Blitz, for giving us this pleasure."
Right on. All right, man. As you do so, from around the corner,
hey.
old Blitz shows up and
No
says,
way!
That's not Blitz, but
oh no, well that's just the token that we're using for him.
Yep.
He comes from around the corner and he goes, did I just hear my name? And he sounds very, very intoxicated and is just kind of stumbling around half out of it. But he's only about 20 feet from you guys.
I look at Ymir and I say, "Bro, am I high already or do I see Blitz?"
Ymir spinning around, noticing the sight of the walking tumor, but he, instead of feeling hostility like he did the first time they encountered, the way he's feeling right now, he's pretty relaxed and in kind of a much more friendly demeanor than being caged on a boat in the middle of a monster infested ocean rocking around. So he kind of does a big bear grin and leads both arms out like, "Hey, do you remember me?"
Yeah, and he walks out and gives you he gives you a hug, and he kind of hugs your arm, and he goes, "Hey, you're the big one. You're the big one from the ship," and starts patting your forearm. As he does so, a few like strange, it looks like dice to you guys, but as they clamber to the ground from the impact of grabbing onto your arm from out of his pockets, you realize that it's little square, it almost looks like mushrooms. A bunch of them fall out from one of his chest pockets all over the ground. And he goes, "Oh shit," and dips down really quick onto his hands and knees and starts like scooping them back up.
"Hey Blitz, did your balls drop?"
He looks up at you really confused for a second, then he chuckles and goes, "Very funny." He goes, "I thought I smelled my product around here. How are you guys enjoying it?"
I'm really enjoying it, but sadly, this is the last bit I got left.
Okay, he straightens up after picking up the last of the cubes, and he looks over at you and he goes, "Well, does that mean it's time to re-up?" And he pulls out a little satchel from his messenger bag he's got around his shoulder. And as he holds it up, you see that it's basically a huge Ziploc bag that's just full of those little black cigarettes.
Does Ymir's nose recognize the smell of the mushrooms at all, given his skill set?
You recognize that is fairy food, and which is a very broad, just kind of subset of magical food that's specifically from the fairy folk. And you're not sure what it is because that's a whole different creature and discipline.
Right.
But as soon as you realize that, your fucking nose turns sour and your gut rolls over because you remember a particularly horrible experience you had with some snookerberry jam that you were gifted from some mischievous fairies years ago, and it left your bowels in the most wretched
There it is.
and string beef state you could imagine. And it was magical in nature, so it was far worse than the worst kind of fucking bowel eroding disease on earth that we know of. So and of course the whole time you had to deal with hearing light silver bell laughter coming from the trees around you as they enjoyed their prank to its maximum effect for days and days. Always just out of reach of your hammer, always just out of reach of your boot.
Fucking fairy food.
So as soon as
Ymir, give it that memory. Yeah, steps away slightly to recoil from the sensation and takes a deep drag of the snaggleweed to settle his stomach and his constitution.
It helps. It helps. It definitely helps.
Indeed, that does.
So, let's see. All right. Just one moment here.
Hey, Blitz. I have a question for you.
He says,
now that I find you, sorry, but now that we found you, I have a question for you. What happened to the bar? You were supposed to be at the bar and then see you at the bar. What happened?
And he says, hey, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I got tied up with shit. You know how things go. And every once in a while, you get a really important client that needs a little extra attention. He says, I'll make it up to you. Don't worry. I'll give you a good price.
What are we talking about?
He says, I'll give you a 50% off discount on your next purchase here. He says, I can't do any better than that. I got to feed my kids. Man, I got 12 kids.
Man, that's what liars say. Name all 12 of your kids. As I puff on my dragon.
He says, hey man, they are literally named 1 through 12. I had to make it simple on myself.
Man, you're wrong. How old is number 1?
He says he's 12 years old.
So how much can we get? Well, what are we looking at? We got like a whole Ziploc full of goodness. Are they pre-rolled or are they just loose leaf?
He says no, all pre-rolled, man, all pre-rolled. He says the paper's an important part of them. He says, believe it or not, it's actually a mild antitoxin to what you're smoking.
Oh, kind of like a filter.
He says, no. He says, no, this is counteracting the poison you're actually putting in your body. It's not just keeping some of it out.
That's a good joke. Put my hands up like finger guns pointing at him like, ah.
All right, so he says, I'll tell you what, he says, I'll give you guys, 100 for He says 100 for 500 credits. He says, I can't do any better than that. He says, that should keep you good for a while unless you plan on being baked all day, every day. And then he just gets this big, wide grin.
100 pre-rolls?
Yep.
Holy smokes. I look at Ymir and I look at him and I was like, what do you think, big man?
Ymir looks at both Blitz and then looks at Akama and just nods his head, still enjoying the rush from the snaggle weed. Like, it seems like a fair price.
Okay. So what do you want to...
Personally, don't need that much blitz. So, if anything, I would like to at least take about maybe 10 of those pre-rolls. So if Ymir wants to pay for the rest of the 90, by all means, I'm all about it.
Ymir holds up his fingers like 20, like 10 and 10. Like, how much would you do for 20?
He says for 20, let me see, that would have been 5, I would say it'd be 100. If I did my math right there. Yeah.
100.
No, 50
Five-
apiece.
5 apiece, yeah, 100 for 500, so yeah, that's right.
50 apiece. Ymir nods his head at 20 and reaches into his pouch to pay the man his portion of
Okay.
the 100 credits.
Nice, I'll do the same.
Oh. So, okay. Wait.
Yeah.
So you're
The 20
buying
was
the
10
20.
and 10.
Yeah, so
He's
you're
buying 10,
20.
I'm buying 10.
Oh,
20
okay,
in
okay.
total.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and take that off. He hands off a separate kind of plastic bag, a Ziploc bag with 10 to each of you. And let's see. Okay. Let me really quick go like this. Okay, so as he hands that off to you and takes the universal credits, he scans your guys' cards, and then he looks around and comments at how beautiful the view is from here, and how whenever he sees beauty like this, it just sets his heart at ease. And he just gets a very warm and kind of loving smile as he looks out over the beautiful plains and the open areas surrounding you guys from this vantage point. And as you look upon this creature, commenting on the nature of beauty, you can't help but to have your own thoughts. And each of you, your stomach recoiled just slightly as you wonder what existence must be like for him. All right, so as you guys are up there, he's just standing kind of looking over the edge, taking in the view now. Did you guys want to talk to him any further, or?
No.
No.
All right.
I just wanted to smoke and chill.
All right. So as you guys are...
Well, you know what? Blitz, what are you doing up here? Why are you here as far as in the Saints Monastery? Aren't you over there in the other area? You know what I'm saying?
He actually says, some of my best customers are here. He says, I have great trade relations, especially with the sauna that they've established. The healing pools are actually aided by all kinds of different medicinals and drugs. He says, I've also come across many different beings in my travels, and once in a while when resurrection is needed at the pools, he says, I'm one of the few people around who know where to get the necessary rare herbs and ingredients that allow that more potent magic to happen. He says, I may just know one or two of the beings that are able to cast the necessary enchantments for that as well, and he kind of gives you a sly wink. He says all of these things come at a premium, of course. Anybody who's willing to bring someone back from the dead is willing to give anything they have to get it achieved. And he kind of chuckles a little bit and gives you a knowing look. Let's see. Need to just check something very quickly here. All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask him or say?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. And Ymir's good as well?
Ooh.
Okay, so as you guys are looking around,
Hey, yo.
you're able to take a look at the surrounding territory in a pretty good amount of detail. This area isn't necessarily that large. One of the things that you're noticing is as you're starting to circle up overhead over the Temple of the Saints, you guys are, or it's also called House of the Saints, you guys are noticing that off to the west, where you came ashore onto the mainland at Sinner's Cove, you can see into the body of water fairly well. But you can only see probably about a half mile offshore. And then huge storms and weather seem to be preventing anything from the island that you first set foot on in the center reflex point. So that entire area is obscured, but you know it's there. You've already been there. You're also noticing that the giant archway to the south is massive. It's massive. And it looks like it's such a slight and kind of lesser grade to the angle of the arch that you could actually start walking from ground level on one side and just have a slow, long walk all the way over the arch down to the other side, completely bypassing the water channel. That's kind of an interesting feature because it shouldn't naturally be like that, but it is. It's nearly smooth, but still with enough texture to, for you to be able to find perches. You notice that the whirlpool, just the edge close to you can be seen, but it's enough that it makes the water look like any ship that got trapped by the whirlpool would be completely destroyed long before it had hit the middle. You're noticing that Sinner's Cove looks like a total shithole from above as well as while you were in it at ground level.
Nice.
The entire area just looks brown, irradiated, and half dead. But you can see why it was chosen because it's the only kind of port that would make sense because of its lack of of uh, dangerous rocks to run aground on for ships. So anyway, you see up to the north of Sinner's Cove a couple of areas that have been marked on your map. The Plug and Frost-based Spark appear to be within the area denoted as the Bitter Creep. The Bitter Creep basically starts on the side of this mountain that you're on and extends up to the north. As you guys are looking out across that area, you pretty much can't see any kind of features because almost the entire thing is covered in a low-hanging, rolling kind of fog and mist that's being generated from intense cold existing within an otherwise relatively temperate environment. Kind of like when you open your freezer door and all the fog just rolls down to the floor. It's the same kind of principle, but it's being held in place by the permanent weather here. So whatever's generating this cold, probably towards the center of that zone, is incredibly powerful and affecting many square miles around it. You see on your maps that you have the path of the Wandering Aristocrat marked as well, and you see that if you were to get down to the what's called base camp at the base of the mountain to the north, you should be able to head fairly quickly to the northwest and be able to link up either with the Plug, Frost-based Spark, or, somewhere right around there, the Wandering Aristocrat. You could, however, continue heading basically straight north and just start searching around, or continue heading straight north and hope to meet up with the Wandering Aristocrat's path somewhere more in that direction. But essentially, once you guys get going, if your intention is to figure out what's happening in the Bitter Creep, you're going to want to head over to the west, to the Plug, Frostbake Spark, or start figuring out where you're going to meet up with the Wandering Aristocrat. Okay? I just wanted to go over that so that you two have a clear kind of concept of where you're heading. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so this all looks good. Last thing that you notice is you can definitely see that square section of fog kind of rolling out over the lake surface to the northwest, and you can see that that's where the weather event and all of that fog is like terminating and dissipating once it gets out of that zone. So you would guess that even though that's not really in the Bitter Creep, that whole area is basically going to be zero visibility, and you can see that that's overlapping where the ships heading out from Sinner's Cove going north would be. So you're getting a feeling you're going to hit that fog even if you head that route. Okay, last thing is you guys both, Atlantean and, okay, you guys both are able to very clearly feel the presence of the powerful ley lines in the area that are intersecting at the nexus on reflex points. And although they're not close enough for you to really draw power from, you do feel their influence even at this distance. And there's this kind of reassuring thrum of energy in the air that's definitely welcome to casters like yourselves. All right. At this, you guys have been up here for a good while. The tour is supposed to take 2 hours. We'll say the first hour has passed. At this point, the ship basically goes up even higher and gives you an even better view of the surrounding area. And as you get up to the highest point of the tour before it starts descending again, you guys way off in the distance are able to see what appears to be labeled the Dark Star Observatory. And from this height, it looks like a kind of shattered and destroyed old science complex of some kind, built up in some kind of hills. And it does indeed appear to be an old observatory from the post-apocalyptic age. But the exterior of it has fallen into complete disrepair at this point. And you guys don't, you're very far away, so you're not able to see a lot of detail, but you guys don't see that there would be a lot of any kind of surface level structure left to even investigate up that, from what you can see. Other than that, you don't really see anything very interesting over there. There are some other, smaller satellite buildings around, and what looks like, an old complex that's completely kind of demolished, and, a few smaller buildings, but for the most part, the observatory itself is pretty shattered and destroyed. Okay. So now that we're set with that, so the tour is pretty much up. It's been a couple of hours, and you guys start heading back down. Once you guys land, unless there's anything anyone's wanting to do, we're just gonna fast forward.
I think
I'm gonna go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You actually had RP. I just was. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, once we are done, I wanna basically go to the workshop where Kilo is working, and just, I guess, knock on the door. He didn't say anything. I open it up, and I see him still going crazy and tinkering and shit. And basically just say, "Hey, we're almost time. Just gonna chill here until we're ready," and then just guess hang out next to him.
Okay, and he basically doesn't even acknowledge you. He's so lost in thought.
Yeah, I figured.
As you guys come back in, you do notice something though.
Hmm.
Give me just 1 second. We need this. There it is. Okay. This is going to be under... Okay, as you guys step into the workshop and look in, you guys notice a heavily technologically advanced character standing in the corner at the work table by Ren. This individual seems to be aiding in his research and appears... and appears to be so adept at what she's doing that it's actually making Ren, for the first time you've seen him in a while, be kind of excited like a little kid. This individual seems to be basically working on one of those spheres that he's been preoccupied with, and as it's doing so, it's working at incredibly rapid speeds. Its hands are just flying over the workbench like a concert pianist's hands would fly over the keys. And as it moves forward, you see very rapidly this shell-like form that he had been working on previously just instantly starts very, very quickly taking shape and coming together into a pretty much completed form. Okay, and this is the individual that you see working with him.
Oh,
Well,
that's
Okay.
pretty fat.
Okay, as that happens,
Oh, sick.
Give me a second. As you
No wonder
guys,
why he's preoccupied.
as you guys see that creature and him working together, you see that it stops working abruptly, almost in kind of panic, and instantly you see that its normal looking hand at the time seems to spring forth that weapon. That weapon seems to actually kind of just eject out from its physical body. And the weapon itself looks like this. Can you guys see that?
No. No.
Players can be edited by. Okay, let me see. Not sure why that's. Let me do this real quick. In players' journals, let me see. A comma, Ymir, Ren, save changes. Okay, let me try this.
yep.
I do.
That
Perfect.
loaded. Yep.
Okay.
Jesus. Okay.
So that rifle essentially slides out from its arm. And as it does so, it begins making some kind of strange electronic alarm noise. And as this little chirping alarm goes off, you hear it say in a completely synthetic voice,
Alert! Alert! Facility security compromised. Intruders detected. Lethal countermeasures authorized.
okay.
Hey.
And at that point, we will go ahead and wrap it up.
Fresh.
All right.
All
Excellent.
right, stop it.
Excellent. Good job, guys.
And now, bow your head for the patrons. BKZJT, Rapid 3642. Andy Sasa, Nova Rose, Kelly T, Tommy Gunn. The Z24 Colts, Jess H, Fitz. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/homegrownlore. Thank you.